Welcome back, everyone, to Cinematic Universe. My name is Ernesto Martinez. Joining me, as always, is Catherine Cook. We have reached the end of the road for The Force Awakens. 5 days away from the recording of this. Return of the Jedi.
Alright, the opening scene of this movie, I loved it. It's like, yeah, it's another Death Star. Oh god, how can they not be that creative? But, it's okay. It looks a lot cooler than the first Death Star. You get the impression that it's a lot bigger, and it actually is. When Vader arrives and everybody's there and they're all surprised, and he finally says, "We're going to meet the Emperor," and it's like, everybody's kind of scared, and Vader's like, he's most displeased with your lack of progress, and you should, be happy that, because the Emperor's not as forgiving as I am. And I was like, ooh, the tension's built up. But then it goes away, and the next 37 minutes of the movie is like, for the longest time as a kid, I didn't really like it. I thought it was too slow. It's all, Luke and going through this ridiculously complicated scheme to rescue Han from Jabba the Hutt, because, God forbid he can't borrow some, he only destroyed the Death Star, so no, you can't borrow some, pilots and fighter jets from the, Rebel Alliance to go save him. No, you got to do this all, sneaky and undercover kind of thing. But now that I look back on it, it was actually decently done. It was kind of like an arc of, an episode of Clone Wars. It was kind of a joke unto itself, how Boba Fett gets it, enough so that the Family Guy people couldn't even spoof it. I love the Rancor, the whole circus monster type idea. Jabba's entire entourage is just ridiculous and it's hilarious. Special editions just made it worse, of course. But, it was kind of like an isolated mini-movie unto itself. One of those things where you could have had Han get kidnapped could have Jabba be anybody you want him to be, but now he's going to be a slug, as described by George as like Sidney Greenstreet. And so, except minus the fez. So, it was a decent story on its own, but it feels so separate and different from the rest of the movie, like it doesn't really belong there. Definitely, in the vein of 30s space opera, that it's kind of hokey. It's like, oh, okay. And you have, the whole Leia slave outfit thing, everybody going crazy over that and whatever. But when we get to, and I actually did like the moment where she finally gets to throttle Jabba, because it's like, Leia finally gets to take out all her rage on somebody. And after that, we get back to the story, and it's like, okay, we meet the Emperor. He's kind of like the witch from Snow White in appearance, even with his... It really is.
I never made that comparison until you said that. Holy crap.
He's got the weirdo staff, and he's got the face and the cloak and all this kind of stuff, and he cackles like an old man, and it's like, if he is less forgiving than the Vader, he doesn't show it, because, Vader killed all his subordinates in Empire Strikes Back, but the Emperor doesn't kill anybody in this movie. But going on from there, you have the heroes kind of take off and go do their own thing, and they kind of pick it up on a somber note with Yoda's death, in which he, it's kind of a repeat of, Obi-Wan's death in the original, where it's like, the old wizard who's going to be your teacher, you can't be there forever, you have to be out on your own sometime. Except Luke is far more ready than he thinks he is to handle the trouble this time around. And again, the puppetry of Yoda, just the mastery of that performance, you really feel for it, and it's really tragic when he dies, and it's like, the passing of the torch, the flames dying out. You don't really want to see him go, and it's like, okay, this is going to be it. You think it's going to be huge, and yet the very next scene is, okay, we're going to have an orientation meeting for what the battle's going to be, and it's like another huge battle. Everybody's split up, and here's your jobs. And the only thing which is kind of like, oh, okay, about it is that you have all of our original main characters together again on the shuttle Tigerian as they're going on their mission to, take out the shield generator. And I figured what was going to ensue was kind of a similar version of, their adventure on the Death Star. And it kind of is. Up until, even though the Ewoks, they're silly, they're furry, they're weird, they're cute, whatever you want to call it. We all agree it should have been a planet of Wookiees like Kashyyyk, and I bet that's the only reason that George Lucas included Kashyyyk in Revenge of the Sith, is because the fans felt it really should have been there in Return of the Jedi. And I agree, too, given that even though it's not shown in the movies, everybody kind of knows that the Wookiees are the primary slave species of the Empire, so, you kind of really wanted to see that, but oh well. I think George Lucas's analogy of the idea of how, the Viet Cong were so under-equipped, and yet they managed to defeat the United States, was taken to a bit extremes with the Ewoks, because they're like cute, cuddly teddy bears, but, whatever. And never mind the bizarre nature of how these cute little guys are going to roast the heroes alive and chop them up and eat them, but okay, I guess, it's Star Wars, But as a kid, I didn't mind it. Even today, I don't mind it, because I love the setting, going up to, the California redwoods. I like that how the entire battle is prolonged. It's not like you get the orientation scene in A New Hope where they're like, this is what we have to do, and this is how we're going to do it, and then they do it within like 15 minutes. No, they make this last for like over an hour, but it's not like constant action the entire time. You still have some story there. Luke departs, and you have, at the heart of the movie really is the scene where Luke meets Vader again, and they're talking, and Vader once again hasn't completely resigned to, letting Luke go. It's like he's kind of feeling him out to see, I'm still here for you, my hand's extended if you want to come with me on this journey. And Luke once again tells him no. And Vader just kind of accepts that answer, and he's just going to let it slide. And it's like this really powerful scene where the power of that neutral face of Vader's mask comes through, and he tells Luke, you don't know the power of the dark side. I must obey my master. And it's like, man, this is such a powerful performance, and it's just the mask, the physical portrayal of David Prowse, and the voice of James Earl Jones. You got these three things bringing this all together. And it's like, oh man, that was really good. It was right what you needed at the heart of the movie, right before this big action-packed climax, where, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous that the Ewoks fight, but you know what, with John Williams' music and the idea of the Ewoks taking over, you don't care anymore. It's just, it's exciting. You get caught up in the whole groove of it. You have the awesome space battle, which exceeds the other ones by a long mile. And, of course, the final showdown, it's like, yeah, it was kind of stupid that Luke would be surprised that the Emperor has the ability to make his handcuffs break off, but, you have the whole, cheesy type of dialogue where the Emperor's like, ha 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 ha, I'm going to destroy all your little friends, and, your little bird, too, or whatever, you might as well give him the white Persian cat for him to stroke, because he's being that cliche, but you just kind of accept it, and you have the great duel again, and at first there's not much rage there, because Luke doesn't want to fight him, and it's not until Vader threatens to turn Leia to the dark side that you really start picking it up. And that's why, you kind of come full circle back to what the whole journey of the hero is. And since that's ultimately what the story is about, it's about the son redeeming the father. And I didn't really mind the shortcomings of the Ewoks, or the fact that the majority of this movie is just this huge battle. It's kind of what you expect from the third act of a trilogy. And actually there was a bit less action than you typically have in the third act of a trilogy, which is a good thing here, because they let the characters kind of shine through. Because when you had them separated in Empire Strikes Back, and the tone being all more serious and stuff, you didn't have that same rambunctious, exciting type feel that you had in the first one, and I felt it was coming back a bit in this one. And of course, as you mentioned, a Return of the Jedi, it doesn't just refer to Darth Vader, but it kind of returning of the Jedi in general. Sure, they weren't dead because Yoda was still there for a while and hiding in the background or whatever, but they're back. They're kind of they're making a statement. We're going to redeem ourselves for our stupidity and not seeing that Palpatine was the bad guy all along. We're going to redeem the fact that we've played into their hands in the Republic a long time ago. It's like, we are going to come up, we're going to save everybody. It's like, big happy climax, great duel, and I really like how they handled the end of Vader, because you could easily have it, since he's clearly the heavy of the series, that your hero's going to strike him down, but no, he's determined to redeem him, and that does add a bit more dimension to the relationship that you don't really see in most stories of this nature, where it's, good versus evil, and they emphasize the fact that good must triumph over evil, and that usually happens with the hero killing the villain. Whereas in this case, it's the hero redeeming the villain who kills the guy who, the Emperor's definitely the one in control, but it's more because of the dialogue. The fact that, yes, Vader bows down to him, that Vader says he's my master and stuff, but the Emperor, once again, he doesn't really do anything. It's kind of like the Empire is only a galactic empire in name only, because we only see in the entire series just a fleet of Star Destroyers, a bunch of TIE Fighters, and 2 Death Stars. So likewise, the Emperor is only an Emperor in name only, in the way that, Vader bows down to him, so we know, okay, this guy's powerful, he means something. And that's kind of your moment when, Vader throws the Emperor down the shaft, but really the villain is still Darth Vader, and the fact that they go about having good triumph over evil by redeeming evil, I thought was really unique. Not something you see every day. You still don't see it today in all the other trilogies and franchises which come around. And, the way they tied off the ending, it wasn't for many years I didn't think of this, but you look at Luke's overall journey, and it's actually that of a tragic hero, because he starts out as, he's a bored moisture farmer. He's got his aunt and uncle who love him. He figures he'll never go off to the academy, but eventually he will. But then what happens? He gets these two droids. His aunt and uncle are murdered. He has to align with this old man who he worships because he has nothing left in his life. And then, what do you know what happens? The old man gets murdered. And, he's allied with he saves the princess and he's with this pirate, but he's not really going to fall in love or have a relationship with the princess because they're thrown into this whole war of the rebels versus the Empire. And then in the second one, it's like he has to go off and mature on his journey, and while he's gone, the girl who he thinks is his girlfriend ends up falling in love with the pirate, who he's kind of been in playful competition with the girl over. And at the end of the movie, he has that horrible revelation that the only other person, because he doesn't really know many people in his life at this point, because there's, Obi-Wan's dead, his aunt and uncle are dead, his friend Biggs is dead, his other friend's attachment, like he says, when he found out that his aunt and uncle were dead, there's nothing for me here now. And so you get to Empire Strikes Back, and, there's Han and Leia, there's Chewie, R2 and 3PO, but then Vader. Those are really the only people he knows of any significance in his life. And he's just found out that the guy who's the enemy, the one, Vader, is his father. And that's like a huge revelation. And it's like, it's like a gut-wrenching thing. And you get to Return of the Jedi, and yet he's so selfless in how, no, I'm not going to kill this guy. I'm going to try and redeem him. I'm going to get something out of this. And what do you know? The other inspirational person, which he happens to meet, Yoda, loses Yoda too. What a surprise. And then by the end of the movie, you find out that, I can't, or earlier on he says, I guess Leia's not going to be my girlfriend after all because she's my sister. And then he loses her to Han, be it good or bad at that point. And so at the end of the movie, what does he have? He's lost all of this stuff. Sure, he has friends, but, he's kind of alone almost more than ever before. And that certainly is paving the way for the whole mystery of where is Luke that's associated with the latest film, Force Awakens. And I thought it was another unique thing. You usually don't see, in Greek myth, of course, you see that happen where you have the heroes or, tragic heroes and all that kind of stuff. But the Star Wars story didn't really, yes, it has those kind of those tropes in it, but it didn't feel like they were going to, because of all, the happy-go-lucky nature in Star Wars and all that, you didn't think they were going to do that for your main character. But I was feeling that a lot at the end of the movie. And I was really pleased that you have those two ultimate things come out of Return of the Jedi. I had the unique aspect of redeeming the villain rather than just killing him, and not doing it in a cheesy way like some kids special or Christmas special where you have to redeem the bad guy and make him see the light kind of thing. They did it in a very good way. And then the fact that Luke is kind of the tragic hero by the end of it, and yet you still have a bit more of a hell of a lot more energy pumped into it than Empire Strikes Back, albeit not as good of a movie as far as the character study goes. And overall, I don't really knock this movie as much as I would other third acts in a trilogy because it's well balanced in terms of action and story, and it does have it brings back that great ensemble by putting them all back together again, and that ending is. That I've mentioned, twice already. So that's what I liked it.
I don't know how I can follow after all that, or if I have anything else to say. Unfortunately, I don't feel as strongly as you do about the Ewoks. I feel like they were kind of...
Strongly is too strong of a word.
I don't know, it's just that I wish they didn't look like, Care Bears the entire time. Like, I don't mind having a savage species helping the rebels fight against the Empire, but I don't buy the fact that these little teddy bears that you can pretty much kick across like a football if you wanted to, were able to, take down as many stormtroopers as they could just by throwing rocks and poking them with a stick.
Completely agreed.
I mean, I'm sorry, but a race of Wookiees is far more, enticing and intriguing than Care Bears galore.
Oh, of course it is.
But it is what it is. I mean, they helped defeat the Empire, and the whole thing with everybody getting captured by these little things is stupid. Also because they have Luke with them, and Luke could pretty much just push them away if he wanted to.
It was, but that's the thing. Luke was being like a little bitch, and he's like, "Oh, Han, we can't use our weapons. We can't stop them." Kind of like when Han says to 3PO in a very sarcastic manner, "Why don't you use your divine influence and get us out of this?" I mean, he really should have been saying that to Luke because he knows that 3PO isn't the type of guy to listen. And given the importance of the mission, it's like, really, Luke, you're going to be subservient to these teddy bears? It's like, you don't have to kill them, but come on. We got the...
Yeah, and they're pretty much very weak-minded, so you could have pretty much said, you don't want to hurt us, you want to let us go. Something like that. But...
Because he did use Jedi mind tricks on Jabba's palace.
Yeah. I'll say this. I don't care what the end design would have or could have been for Jabba the Hutt, but I will take slug-looking Jabba the Hutt over the parody version Pizza the Hutt in Spaceballs, because that thing was disgusting beyond belief.
Didn't he eat himself to death because he got trapped in a limo?
Yes, but remember, you know very well that the first time that I've ever saw Spaceballs was this year and this year alone. And seeing that for the first time made me want to barf in my popcorn bag. And I don't get squeamish easily, so it says a lot when an entire costume based on mountains and mountains of pizza and God knows what else practically sent me to the emergency room, alright? So I will take Jabba the Hutt design over Pizza the Hutt any day. The theme of strong female characters in Star Wars is still goes strong even to the last of the saga, when you don't know it's Leia under the mask until she takes off the mask to save Han Solo. But while she's wearing the mask, unless you're expecting it to be her, but if you don't, you see this badass bounty hunter with Chewbacca ready to blow everybody if Jabba didn't agree to the terms that the bounty hunter had. And then when she takes off the mask, it's like, God damn it, Leia, you're such a badass.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that, that was kind of her only moment, because it's like, Luke has his moment, of course, numerous times, because he's the main hero. He gets to destroy the Death Star. He, fights Vader, sacrifice for his friends and all that kind of thing. But Han's moment came, of course, in Empire Strikes Back when he decides to cooperate in the carbon freeze chamber for the sake of the other people. Mm-hmm. And Leia's moment, I guess, is what you're just talking about, because sure, she kills Jabba, but it's not ultimately necessary to do so, because R2 can break the chain because he's a badass. But yeah, that was kind of her moment to step up and do something, even though she failed in the initial attempt.
Yeah, and I also jumping now to the relationship between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, how they're going back and forth about, Father, you're good, there's still good in you, you can come back to the light. And Darth Vader had that famous quote, "You don't know the power of the dark side." And how pretty much of a slave he is to the Emperor's will and the power. And that being said, and this is just me nitpicking, but at the same time it's fun to nitpick at it because it's always amusing when you do. When the Emperor has, Luke's lightsaber and he's taunting him about, "Go ahead, grab your weapon, strike me down so that I can complete your training.
I am unarmed."
I am unarmed, yeah. And you see Luke actually pick up the lightsaber and he's ready to strike him. And Darth Vader just stops him right there. The entire time that that Darth Vader wanted him to join him to overthrow the Emperor, at that moment I always ask myself, what stopped Vader from, he could have let him strike him there because he didn't seem
exactly.
Because the Emperor was counting on Vader to intervene, so Vader could have easily not done a damn thing. And
True, but it's almost like, when Vader bows down to the Emperor, maybe he has this legitimate fear of him in the sense that, he can easily plot against him when he's, thousands of, miles away across the galaxy or whatever. But when he's sitting right there, maybe he's just too intimidated. It's like, like kind of like when, a kid's getting excited to go on a new roller coaster and they're talking about it. They can't wait to do it and bragging about how awesome it's going to be. And then they get there and they're too terrified to actually do it, to get on it.
I see you have constructed a new lightsaber. Your skills are complete. Indeed, you are as powerful as the Emperor has foreseen. Again, Darth Vader is very quotable and he has some of the best dialogues ever.
And he doesn't seem to get that he's probably replaceable when he takes Luke to the Emperor. He could have killed him when he ignited the lightsaber right there, but he didn't.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to Count Dooku, how easily replaceable he was.
In a setting which looks very much the same. A big space battle outside, the Emperor in the chair, and, Vader with the opportunity to do something. Which is interesting that you mentioned that, because in Episode 3, of course, Anakin makes the decision to kill Dooku, whereas he does not make the decision to let Luke kill Palpatine.
Yeah. We can still draw parallels to each movie. It's the reason why I'm counting on The Force Awakens to have a little bit, if not a lot, of A New Hope. So.
Oh yeah, it definitely seems to have that tone. Characters off on a new adventure. Action, kind of classic fairy tale kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Almost beat for beat. And you were right about when we talked about the Blu-ray version of Return of the Jedi, how Darth Vader starts screaming, "No!"
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking here at IMDb, and it shows that for the Blu-ray version, Darth Vader says no, turns to the Emperor, grabs him, and says no again. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, that was the other moment. That one close-up, it's actually not when he says no on the Blu-ray, thankfully. It's the close-up right before that, when Vader's just looking at him being electrocuted. That was like the most powerful still for me of Vader ever. And once again, the perfection of that neutral face, being able to convey that emotion, and they added the stupid no afterwards, which is that's just inexplicable.
And inexcusable, too.
And it defeats the Frankenstein paradox, because, as cheesy as it is in Revenge of the Sith, it makes sense, because he's doing the whole Frankenstein thing with that scene where he's getting into the suit and everything, but this is the opposite. He's breaking free of that. He shouldn't be saying it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for everything that I didn't really much care for the Ewoks, any scene that had Luke with Darth Vader or Darth Vader with the Emperor or Darth Vader barking orders to everyone in the Death Star, all that stuff is very strong. But I always felt that the Ewok scenes always weighed the movie down, which, that's why if I were to rank these in top threes, it would be Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, and then Return of the Jedi. But still, everything with Luke and Vader is excellent. Vader conveying emotions just from wearing the mask when it's, perfectly shot. As Luke is being on the ground, being electrocuted by the Emperor. Admiral Akbar's infamous, "It's a trap!"
Greatest meme ever.
Greatest meme ever. And yes, when you take the prequels into consideration, Anakin Skywalker did bring balance to the Force by defeating the Emperor.
Yeah, I've never understood that, because balance implies equality on either side, and he kind of did that at the end of Revenge of the Sith, where you have just Obi-Wan and Yoda, and then Vader and Sidious. And yet, at the end of this series, you have just Luke.
There's still evil in the world, and the evil will always come back. I think the way I always saw it was that in the end, light always triumphs, but when you least expect it, evil is always lurking. So that's how I took it. That to me is kind of like the balance, because light is always supposed to triumph over dark, and when life does triumph, at some point light has to dim back again, and then go back and fight with the shadows. But it is what it is. The Yoda moments were great. Again, like you said, the puppetry was spot on. And yeah, that's pretty much the Star Wars saga. I mean, we made it. We finally, made it to this point, and The Force Awakens at the moment of this recording is 5 days away. A new journey, a new set of characters, the old transferring and passing the torch to the new. I'm curious to see who makes it out alive. Because everyone's talking about some of the old characters being killed off, and that would be kind of, disappointing and cliche, but...
I think they might kill off Han, just because, I just don't... as hard as it was to picture that he was going to come back and do the movie, since he's made no secret of distancing himself from the franchise, given that the trailers seem to be showing him as a, major presence in the whole movie, I mean, in order for these new characters to shine, you can't have him be there the entire time, and I fear he's almost going to be kind of like Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original movie, where it's kind of like, sure, he's not a wizard, but he's the old guy on the side of the road, the guy who you kind of pick up, you don't really intend to pick him up, but you do, and he's going to help you out as long as you can, and then eventually you're going to have to be on your own, and that's my fear for the character. But it would be great storytelling, as terrible as it would feel.
Yeah. Well, we rated the prequels. How would you rate the original trilogy?
I give the original is still my favorite movie. Empire, I rank them in the descending order. The original Star Wars is my favorite, followed by Empire Strikes Back, then Return of the Jedi. If Empire had a bit more energy in it, I'd probably like it a bit more. But I just like that the first one is just all rising tension the entire time. Well, not the entire time, but, through the first 96 minutes or so. 100 minutes.
Well, as I mentioned a few minutes earlier, for me it's Empire, Star Wars, Return of the Jedi.
And I still give them all A's, even though, Jedi's the one that's lagging, but I still give them A's because I just, you grow up with that franchise, and it's kind of like a movie like that you grow up with, like Jurassic Park or Back to the Future. It's like, you're going to forget. I find that I forgive any faults that they do have because of how much they meant to me.
Yeah, I understand that completely, and I think I've made that argument before, actually, with Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park by no means is a perfect movie.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's why I bring it up.
But holy crap, I've gushed about that movie so much, and it really much shows just how impactful movies like this are for people like us.
That's the one movie for me where if it comes on TV, I have to finish watching it.
Yes. And there's always going to be that one movie for everyone that once it shows up, whatever you're doing, put it on hold and do it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. As always, my name is Ernesto Martinez. As always, Catherine Cook. And please join us as I bring the entire crew, hopefully and possibly, for The Empire Strikes Back. The review will probably not be posted.
The Force Awakens.
Yeah. The review for The Force Awakens will probably not be posted immediately after the weekend, but I promise that it'll be up as soon as possible, so please be on the lookout. Thank you all. Bye-bye.